Let's start. Okay, we're gonna delve. We're jumping in. You know, I could spend a long time doing a lot of introductions, and the Rabbis certainly has like a 20-page introduction with little itty bitty writing.
Are you recording it?
Mm-hmm. Why?
Oh,
I
because
stopped
I
it.
wanted to tell you, I purchased one of the classes from that person that I was telling you about.
Yes.
Interesting.
It was in English?
Yes.
Okay.
And
You'll have to
it's
tell me
not
because I don't
very talky.
recall who it was.
Yeah, it's not very talky. He really gets into it.
Okay. Send me the link.
Yeah,
Can you?
I mean,
Okay.
probably, or else I'll give you my login. You can look.
Okay. We're going to wait here a few minutes. Let me make a bracha here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'kol nהיה דבר. Rip it out. Okay, here we go. Let's start. This is an exploration for all of us. I do this time and time again, and every time I'm still baffled. But, okay, for those people who have photocopies, there's different versions. As we have handed down, there's the short version, the long version, the Sadia version, and what we call the Grav version. It was after the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon is the one that Rabbi Kaplan took to go ahead and do his translation and commentary of. The way that he does his commentary is very similar to many other commentaries that are done in many other spectrums. I mean, in other words, let's say he has a concept, and what does he do? He pulls from different places, wherever in Tanakh and the Talmud and the Zohar, and lays it out for you. But when you do that, let's say, it's like he finds a reference here, he'll find a reference to this word here, and a reference here and a reference there. So he kind of, in the commentary itself, he kind of like overloads you and leaves it vague. Okay. So in other words, we have to do work on this, okay? Because we have to try to put it together. So here he starts with the first, here on page 5, okay? So it starts with B'shloshim u'shtayim netivot peliot chochma chakak Hashem ka Hashem tzavakot, okay? Elokei Yisrael Elokim chayim u'melech olam kel shakai rachum v'chanun ram v'nisa shechein ad marom v'kadosh mo marom v'kadosh hu. Okay, so that's a long run-on sentence. Let's translate it. With 32, there is a book right... Oh, you got it. Okay. With 32... We're on page 5. With 32 mystical paths of wisdom. Okay? Interesting is B'shloshim. Okay? Shh. Well, that's it. You know, we don't need to read the book anymore. We're done. It's okay. With 32 mystical nativot, okay? What is a nativ? It means a path. Now, there's different words for path. Some are orach, orchot. Some are shavil, right? Some are derech. There's lots of words that we have for paths. You have to ask, why was this particular word chosen? A nativ. What's the difference for a nativ? First of all, like what you said already, 32. We all got 32. Everybody's going to understand 32. Okay, and he's going to explain it. 32, wondrous. We go pliot, a pele. 32 wondrous paths of wisdom, engraved God. And then he strings all these names. The Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, the living God, King of the universe, Kel Shakai, merciful and gracious, high and exalted, dwelling in eternity, whose name is holy, he is holy, and he is lofty and holy, and he created his universe in one breath. Okay. And he created his universe with 3 books. So we got to kind of condense this into a thought. Okay? So basically what we're saying is, God created his universe with 32 mystical paths. He created, it's kind of like almost a run-on sentence, with 32 mystical paths engraved God. I guess we'll call that a sentence. Okay? So we have with 32 mystical paths, God engraved. Doesn't say what he engraved, but we can use the next sentence to figure that out. He engraved and he created his universe. So there's 2 nouns here. Engraved, that's 1, and created. You have to know how to explore a text and come up with questions. We come up with questions, and hopefully with the questions, when we ask questions, so then we can get into the answers of these questions. But so far, we have 2 verbs, engraving, and we have in created. What do you need?
What page are you on?
Page 5.
Thank you.
And there might be another copy there. There was another copy. You took one. Okay.
Great.
Okay. And then there's other copies right there for Clara or anybody coming in. Those photocopies. Those are photocopies.
These are photocopies?
Yes, of the same thing. So I only have 2 extra books for people who come in. Whoever comes in first gets, and those are for and then the photocopies are for those who come in after. Okay.
Is today the 3rd?
No, it is not.
4th.
32 mystical paths God engraved and created his universe with 3 books. Okay? And those 3 books are, and has he translated, with text, with number, and with communication.
And they all have the same concept?
Sefer, Sefer, and Sipur. This is an unbelievable text. We're looking at this, and let's try to take it apart. We can ask questions. Sefer, Sefer, Sipur. Why 3 books? What do you mean 3 books? We're familiar with 3 books, especially since we're getting to Rosh Hashanah, right? But that's not these 3 books, okay? With 3 Samech Pei Reish, okay? 3 Sfarim, okay? Uborat Olamo b'Shlosha Sfarim b'Sefer, Sefer, v'Sipur. Okay. So a lot of questions, first of all, then why? And you have to ask, why is it so many names? Look at all the names. Ka, Hashem Tzavakot, God of Israel, living God, King of the universe, etc., etc., etc. What does it mean, engraving? Created, we can understand. And then why 3 books, and what do those 3 books represent? Okay? First, let's explore 32. Okay? With 32, as the next stanza will explain, these 32 paths are manifest as the 10 digits and the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. It's interesting how he says 10 digits. Okay? Is this a digit or is a number a digit?
Both.
Okay. A finger is much better than a digit, you're right, than a number. I'm always used to a number. But a digit being a finger, that's very powerful then. Because when you understand a finger, right, so then you can understand we have 10 fingers. Okay? So 10 digits and 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The 10 digits are also manifest in the 10 sfirot, which are the most basic concept of existence. So I have here, you can skip ahead to page 29, and I have some photocopies there on the back table. But if you go to 29, that basically says a lot. If you can understand 29, we can see the 22, you can see 32 here. We see 10 sfirot, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you'll see all of the lines that are crossing or connecting the sfirot. So if you look at all the lines connecting the sfirot, it ends up being 22 lines. Each one of these lines is a letter, as you can see. Okay? So 10 digits and 22 letters. Okay? The letters and digits are the basis of going back here. The letters and digits are the basis of the most basic ingredients of creation: quality and quantity. The qualities of any given thing can be described by words formed out of letters, while all its associated quantities can be expressed by numbers. Okay? which is an interesting thing that I remember. There's different ways of communicating, as we have with the 3 books. 3 books are basically different ways of communicating. As he writes there, text, which is words, number is math. And then there's communication, which I don't understand. If you have text and number, what do you need a separate book for communication, right? So, I guess, what do you say about it? Okay, it could be, okay? But then again, why wouldn't that be just like 1A and 2A, or, a subcategory? Why should it be something, communication be something, a book all on its own? It should be 2 books, text and number. What is communication then? It has to be something that is completely separate. You getting my question? You can...
Yeah, and maybe the text is just the letters, and the numbers are just the numbers. The communication is the combination, the Torah.
Okay, so it's
all
putting
of that
text
symbol.
and numbers together.
If there's no way to combine them that they're understood. It's just a random alphabet. So
But then it ends up being like a... How can it be a second book? It's how you're putting it together.
The combination is like the whole thought of
So if it's a combination, it shouldn't be a separate book, or should it?
Understand the combination.
No,
Well, if you have.
Or is it A to B to C?
Is it
It's
like
A plus
Hoffman,
B equals
Bina,
C.
and what's the third one? Hoffman
Das.
and Bina
Das.
and no,
Dot.
not Das. I don't mean
Keter,
that. I
Hoffman,
mean
Bina.
Hesed, Gevura, and what's Jacob?
Ferret?
Tiferet, yeah. So maybe...
Could be all of
communication is
those.
like
It could be the
that.
3 pillars. We know that the Sefirot, if you look in the array of the Sefirot, is 3 pillars. Okay? We're just introducing. There's some photocopies here in the back table. Okay. Yes. Anybody want to?
Can I have one? Is there another? Oh, there not. Oh, here. Thank you. If somebody comes in and there aren't enough, they can have mine.
So here we go. Let's go on here in this text here. Numbers, however, cannot be defined until there exists some element of plurality in creation. So that's why we start with the bait. Okay? All the commentaries are bothered with this bait. Why does it say bishloshim, with 32? Okay? As if first you have to create the 32 paths, wondrous paths. Or you have to engrave the 32 paths.
So you're saying bait stands for plurality?
Yes, the bait of Bereshit is the number 2 numerical value of 2, as we all know.
Yeah.
Right? In other words, before bait, you have 1, and that's all there is. When we start with the bait of Bereshit, we're starting with a duality. We're starting with 2. We're in a universe of 2. Okay? And there has to be, and that's how God made it. There is what's called, classically, we'll call it mashpia nishpa, which means there's the bestower and then there's the bestowee. That's just how the formula of our dimension is working right now. Okay? Mashpia, bestower, and there's who's being bestowed to. There's a giver and a receiver.
What's the...
Mishmash,
Mishpah.
mashpia and nishpa.
Nishpa.
Nishpa. Okay? So there has to be, you can't start with numbers until you have 2. 1, you have 1, and 1 is all there is. You have to have 2. Our whole creation is about relationship. And it takes 2 to tango. Okay? Can't start counting until you're after 1. Okay? The Creator himself is absolutely simple, containing no plurality whatsoever. He is the most absolute unity imaginable. Therefore, plurality only came into existence with the advent of creation. Only then could numbers be defined. Okay, so we're having the creation of numbers. The first elements of plurality in creation involve the 10 Sefirot. Interesting, because I would think, when I think about the Torah is the blueprint of creation. And in order to make the blueprint of creation, you need letters. So the letters really were before the Torah. Here he's saying something unique. The Sefirot, the 10 Sefirot, are even before the letters. Rabbi, I remember hearing a class from Rabbi Bar Tzadok that he spoke about the Sefirot, and you're gonna see the entire first chapter. Every Mishnah begins with the same words. Every Mishnah, and you can see it in the photocopies that I gave you, begins with the first words of 10 Sefirot of nothingness, right? 10 Sefirot, after you get to number 2, 10-3, number 3, Mishnah number 3, 10 Sefirot of nothingness, 10 Sefirot of nothingness, number 5, 10 Sefirot of nothingness, number 6, 10 Sefirot of nothingness, 7, 10 Sefirot of nothingness, yada yada. Okay? Because really, these are vortexes that cannot really be perceived. They are energies, and you'll see in this book, they don't mention the names. Here, in the photocopy that you have here, of the array of the 10 Sefirot, right, it's also on page 29, they give names. But you'll see Sefer Yetzira does not give a name to them. Because it wants it to be nameless.
What? Inconceivable what?
You cannot... Yes,
Vortexes?
inconceivable. You got it. That's it.
Is it vortex?
Vortex, yes. Energy field. Okay. But you cannot perceive them except for what comes out of them. And so Rabbi Bar Tzadok, he explained the letters, the tension in between the Sefirot, like two polarities, that's where the letter is formed. The letter is formed from the tension between them. That's why these letters are the way they are. Okay? That's where the letters get formed. Interesting how letters are vibrations, right? And we talk about in quantum physics how they're coming up with a theory of the superstrings, which is these very, very tight strings. So tight, right? But a string is a string. You pluck it, it vibrates. Okay? And the letters also, like these strings. Okay? We're going into the 10 Sefirot, don't forget, once again, are the genetic structure of all of creation. Okay? In other words, they're in everything and everywhere and always have to be connected to it.
Is that what's being referred to when Hashem tells Moses, you can't see my face, you can see my after effects?
I never heard of the after effects.
It said my back. Okay, it said my back.
After effects, man. Yeah, okay. That could, okay.
Like you could tell her.
If you eat too much halva, you could go to sleep. Okay. Now I forgot where it was. Okay, fine. Here we go. So, yeah, 7 here. We're using these books. You might not have a photocopy.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have time, but I'm going in the commentary of these books, but I'm still on that number 1 there, okay? With 32,
yes.
Mystical Path. So we're trying to understand 32, okay? Here.
Then I'm not going to count God.
So the first elements of plurality in creation involve the 10 Sefirot. Okay, we get that, because there's 10. Hence, it was the Sefirot that defined the numbers, and therefore the concept of quantity in general. Interesting. So he's really kind of saying that the concept of quantity was the first element to be manifested from the light of the infinite, as opposed to quality. Quality comes next. First is quantity. I guess it's, I can't help from going back into the book by Carl Sagan, I think called Contact. Great story there. You remember it? That all of a sudden she's looking at the skies and she wants to hear if there's somebody out there, and finally she hears a communique from out there, right? And it's math.
The movie was great.
And it's math. And of course, and then you can convert math, and then what was it? It was a design plan to build a ship, right? That never went anywhere, right?
Well, they hid it inside of a video.
They hid the ship?
The actual information was hidden inside a video file.
Okay. Who hid it? They did. The whoever. Yeah. All right. In any case, the idea was numbers are a great level of communication. Okay? it's interesting to note down and think about it and contemplate, okay, numbers being the first level of communication as opposed to quantity, okay? Here, going on, most of Sefer Yetzira will deal with these 32 paths as they are manifest in the letters and numbers. The 32 paths themselves, however, will not be mentioned again. The early Kabbalists define these 32 paths as different states of consciousness. A list of these is given in Appendix 2. I looked at that appendix, and it has each level of consciousness as something that is totally astounding, because it's like, yeah, what do you do with it? You really don't know what to do with it, okay? You have names of it, and what is it? Is it levels that you go up in a meditation? Okay? Simply, okay, according to the Kabbalists, these 32 paths are alluded to in the Torah. That's the thing that woke me up the most. Why? By the 32 times that God's name, Elohim, appears in the account of creation in the first chapter of Genesis. In other words, if you go to the first chapter of Genesis, it mentions there Elohim 32 times. It's awesome. Really, it woke me up. Okay? Because why? And you'll see 10 times it mentions, and God said. And God said, let there be light. And God said, let there be a firmament. God said, let there be this. God said, God said, God said. There's 10 of those. So obviously those are representative by the Sefirot. And the other times where it says, God saw the light, that it was good. God divided, right? God called the light day. God did this. God did this. Was doing or something else. It wasn't saying. So therefore, those represent the letters. So within the, always, whatever we can find in that first chapter, right, of Genesis is packed. Okay? They always want to look for, if you ever want to know anything about Torah, some people, they ask a lot of opinions, right? These days, we look everywhere for opinions, right? It's amazing who they go to for opinions, right? Yeah. They can interview anybody, is this guy really, mentally stable? And they'll get some professor, and doesn't look like he's stable, right? Or they'll interview anybody about anything, right? Does anybody really ask God's opinion? Right? Nobody really wants to know God's opinion, right? So a classic technique is, if you're confronted with any word or concept, immediately go, where is that in the Torah? Right? Where is that in the Torah? Where is that found in the Torah? So when you find it in the Torah, then you find a key to what it really means, what's really behind it. Okay? They ask classically, Haman. Everybody know the story of Purim, right? Wicked Haman. Haman min haTorah me'ayin. Where is Haman in the Torah? They asked. Because don't forget, we understand the Torah as being this dynamic projector of sorts, right? As we know, the way we understand creation, the blueprint of creation, the Torah is the blueprint. There's a light, there's a film, and there's a screen. The light is the light of God. The film is the Torah. And the screen, what's being projected, is this world. Yeah, the question is, where are we? Are we sitting in the seat there? No. Okay? Right? We are all three. Okay? Because don't forget, our essence was carved from God. We have a certain expression in the Torah. And then, of course, we are expressed. Okay? So the idea here is we're supposed to bring God's light into this world. And we're supposed to elevate everything into this world by taking all the stuff in this world and connecting it to the Torah. By the way, just to throw this out, because it occurred to me, I was once when I went to Medjibuch, and I was in the Baal Shem Tov's synagogue. And I was waiting, and I said my Tehillim and everything like that, and I was waiting for the rest of the friends to finish. I picked out a book, Keter Shem Tov, and I opened it up random, right? And it was a great piece there. That really is what the direction which we're all headed towards. A simple direction. And God willing, we'll work together to get there. which was anytime you're conversing on anything, you have to think in your mind, what sphera am I talking about now? Okay? In other words, if it's wisdom, if it's kindness, if it's discipline, because that's what Gevura is, number 3, called Bina, number 5, right? Is it understanding? Is it beauty? Is it netzach, which means dominance? Is it splendor? Which, when I'm communicating with you, what sphera are we communicating with? Once you train yourself how to hook it up to the sphera, okay? So then obviously what happens is you start to unhook yourself from the grip of this world, of our dimension. The idea here is to get out, right? The idea here is the red pill, we wish it was an easy pill, okay? We wish it was just take a red pill and you're up, right? It's not that way, right? So the red pill is this constant working through our mental focus. And the way to do that is understand creation and understand the 10 sfirot and the letters, okay? So anyways, they asked Haman min Torah min ayin, and they traced where does Haman from? You know, Haman comes from the very first chapter, I think it's the second chapter of Genesis, actually, when Adam sinned and they ate from the tree, they realized they didn't have any clothes on, and they went and hid, and God is coming through the garden, and he says, Adam, where are you? Right, of course he knew where he was, but he's trying to not startle him, like, busted! Okay, he didn't want to come off strong, okay? Where are you, Adam? I'm here hiding. Oh, Adam, why are you hiding? Did you eat from that tree? Hamin ha'etz hazeh? Did you eat from the tree? Hamin. Haman comes from there. Haman comes from the time, originally in the source of the Torah, from when Adam hid. A concealment aspect, okay? And the aspect of doubt. That's really because he was an Amalekite. So it's an aspect of this, God's, that's where Haman comes from. You got to meditate on that. Like, wow, that's the root of Haman. What does that mean, right? In terms of its depth, it's a level of concealment, which means a level of doubt, okay? But in any case, I have to end. We're ending early because we have a big party here. There's a lot of sushi we have to devour.
Oh,
okay.
Rabbi, what did you say a minute ago about the light and the screen? What's in between the light and the screen? The projector.
The light, the film.
The film.
Film. Torah is the film, right? So when we look at and it's more concentrated. The more earlier you are in creation, in the first chapter of Genesis, everything is really concentrated in there. Okay? So if he mentions in there 32 times God's name is mentioned, okay. By the way, 32, he mentions it later on. I think 32, the first letter of the Torah is Beit. And the last letter of Torah is Lamed. Lamed Beit. Okay? Beit Lamed. Beit Lamed is Lave, is heart. It's Lamed Beit. It's the numerical value of 32. So you have the entire Torah, one long name of God, is almost like you can say is the 32 paths. Okay? But in a concentrated form in the first chapter, there it is. The 32 times that Elohim is mentioned. So really, and eventually when we get into the meditative state, if you go over you would contemplate something that you desire in a holy sense. Okay, let's say. And then you'd really focus on it, and then you'd read the first chapter of Genesis, and then come and back to me. That's your homework, okay? Okay, let me just finish this. I think the 32 times that God's name, Elohim, appears in the account of creation, the first chapter of Genesis. In this account, the expression God appears 10 times. God said, appears 10 times. And these are the 10 sayings with which the world was created. These 10 sayings parallel the 10 sfirot, right? Just like what we said. The first saying is to be said in the verse, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. See, that's the interesting thing. They asked a question in the Talmud. They can ask these questions, right? They says 10 times it says, and God said. And so, some student went and counted and says, no, There's only 9. And he's right. He's right. You normally, nowadays, you get kicked out of class, you ask a question like that, right? Now, no, the Talmud asked. And the answer was, the word Bereshit is a statement. It doesn't say, and God said. That one word, don't forget, Bereshit, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, 70 chapters on that one word. One word. Okay? On the word Bereshit. And the way I look at Bereshit, which really everything comes from that one word. Okay? So it's almost like Bereshit is like the tamtzit, how do you say it? The most powerful extract, and then it's diluted in the first chapter, and then it's diluted more in the first book of Genesis, and then it's diluted. Okay? But the packed pill, the red pill, is Bereshit. Okay? 70 chapters on one word. Okay? But the way I look at it is, it doesn't say God said, because it's a wink. Okay? That's how I look at it. It's like, okay? It is a said, but it's not a verbal said. It's a different kind of said. It symbolizes the most sublime of the sublime. Okay? Okay, and even though God said does not appear here, it is implied and understood. Okay, we're going to end off with this so we can go and join the party. Any questions? Cool. 32 passive wisdom. Your homework is think about something you strongly desire and then